everyone. This is Scott Andreessen with Fence Marketing Team, and we're going to be getting started here in just a moment. We're just going to give things a little bit of time, let some people come on in. Hope your Thursday is starting off great. All right. So I think that we can go ahead here and get started. And what's up, Jesse? What's up, Jyland? We've got a couple people joining from phone. And so I'm just trying to prepare Facebook Live to go out as well. We're going to get started here in just a moment. I might be having some streaming issue here on Facebook. So if that's the case, then we'll just move forward without Facebook. Yeah. All right, then. So let's go ahead and get started. And what I'm going to do is actually share my screen with you. We're going to be talking about fence sales training, building a predictable fence business. And while other systems need to be in place for a predictable fencing business, the sales system needs to be top-notch for sure. So let me go ahead and share my screen and pull up my slides. So I want to start off with this guy right here. His name, in case you don't know who that is, that's Zig Ziglar. And he says, people don't buy for logical reasons, they buy for emotional reasons. And this is very true because I hear every day about how things like, we need to sell at a certain price, or, only price shoppers call us. And really, that's not the case. People don't buy on price. They buy based on value, and they buy based on emotional reasons. So we're going to be focusing this webinar in particular around selling high ticket fencing, and also different sort of closing techniques and ways to handle the inbound call to schedule the estimate. So let's go ahead and dive in. So today's agenda, what we're going to discuss is how to handle inbound calls for high ticket residential fence and gate sales. Now, some of this will work for commercial fencing as well, commercial fencing and gate. But when we're talking about, selling a project that's $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, some sort of big commercial job, then, that's going to be in a different arena. So we're going to be talking about selling high ticket fences, $5, $10, $15, $20,000 on up in that range. Overcoming objections. So overcoming common objections to schedule more estimates, and then maximizing your leads. So taking what you got and getting more out of it, as well as sales killers. So these are going to be things that you want to avoid saying. They're very common, and they get said on pretty much every call. These are things that are going to detract your prospect and make them not want to buy from you. So this is your time, and make sure that you silence your cell phones, lock your door. The day's busy, but this is the time for you to focus on your business. So if you're a fence or gate business owner and you're serious about getting better sales results in 2020, this next 60 to 90 minutes will change your life. That's my goal. That's my promise. Now, we're going to have a Q&A at the end. And to ask a question, you'll see a little chat button. You might need to click more, and then it will let you chat, and you can just type in the question there, and then I'll get to it at the end. So who am I, and why should you listen to me? Well, I've been in digital marketing for 12 years. and I work exclusively with fence and gate companies. I'm also author of Internet Marketing for Fence Companies, and I'm a member of the AFA. And that little picture in the right corner, that is of this previous fence tech, which was an awesome time. That's actually right before the virus hit. So yeah. What's up, Mike? Glad you're here. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So I want to talk about the old versus the new, right? So the old school salesperson was someone who persuaded, spun fact and fiction, and did just about anything to get a sale. That's not the case anymore. The modern day sales professional, the fence salesman, is seen as an educator, an advisor, a consultant who challenges, teaches, and helps their customers to understand what type of fence they want, okay? So there's a fine line between pushy and pushover. So I've heard hundreds of fencing calls over the past couple of years, and you know, a lot of times it always boils down to price, right? Well, how much is it going to cost? And then, you know, the price is given at some point, and then the prospect goes, okay, thanks. And then the fence contractor or the employee for the fence company says, oh, okay, well, thank you. You know, keep us in mind. So that would be pushover, right? So read your prospect. You don't want to be a pushover. It's okay to ask direct questions to your prospects. It's okay to overcome objections, and it's totally okay to ask for business. Okay? So here's our purpose and our objective. That when we get one of these inbound calls or a contact form, it is to schedule estimates only for high probability sales. That's like rule 1. And so that's exactly what we're going to discuss on this webinar, is how to decipher and weed out high probability fence sales. And these are going to be people specifically looking to do it now, ASAP, or within the next month. Now, within the next month, a good salesperson can actually get that done sooner. If there's a reason, if there's a strong sense of urgency, that 1 month can turn into 1 day. And then the whole goal of this is to save something much more valuable than money. That's our time, right? We can never get that back. And a huge killer of growth is wasting time. And so it's better to get right to the point, have systems in place that are going to facilitate getting a scheduled estimate by getting right to the point, so you can either help that person out to get the fence or gate they want, or if not, then you're moving on to the next. And not a whole lot of time is spent. So here's the outline of exactly how we're going to tackle this. We're going to start off with a nice greeting. We're going to get their basic information, like their name, their phone, their address, email. We're going to talk to them about the style of fence or gate they want. We're going to find out why they want it. What do they want it for? That's known as their hot button, okay? We're going to get into that. We're going to ask if they're the sole decision maker. Is the person we're even talking to able to purchase the fence? Are we their first call? Why is that important? We're going to get into that. What kind of budget are they looking to spend? Assuming we can meet all their conditions of satisfaction with regards to price, materials, and installation, how soon would you be able to start? So we're really going to pin this thing down. We're going to discuss an optional strategy using My Salesman, or some sort of a tool like that to get the online quote. We're going to give them a budget, and then we're going to overcome objections. We're going to then schedule the estimate. And then if it's a total tire kicker, we're going to put them in, we're not just going to tell them to screw off, right? We're going to put them into a lead nurture system of some type, like an email campaign, so we stay in front of them. So let's go ahead and dissect each of these. Let's start off with the nice greeting. Now, through the phone calls that I've listened to, I've heard everything from, hey, like literally that is the answer that someone's calling up a professional fence company, and the fence company answers the phone and it's hey or yes. It's just a hey or yes, or you know what I mean? And so there's a better way to handle this. You could say the company name, you could say something like, you know, Bob's Fence Company. You could do something like that. Or one that I have found really works is to say something. Mike Mineta says, ouch. Yeah, exactly. Or one that really seems to start the mood off right is thanks for calling Bob's Fence Company. How can I make you smile? It's very simple, very to the point, and it sets the tone that this is going to be a positive call, because right off the bat, the first words out of my mouth are, how can I make you smile? So your prospect, you don't know if you're their first call, you don't know if they're their third call, the fourth call. Who knows what is going on that day in their life? But they could be really pissed off because maybe their fence is in shambles and they know they got to get it fixed. And so they're worried about this big investment. And if you call and you're just like another fence contractor and you're just like, Bob's fencing, Sal's fencing, Joe's fencing, you know, that really doesn't set you apart. But I can guarantee you, you're going to be the only one that says something like, how can I make you smile? So same thing, even if you miss the phone call, if you missed the call, then you would call back and say, hey, you know, I apologize, I missed your call. This is Bob's Fence Company. So how can I make you smile? So that's just something to consider. It seems to work well. And so I would suggest a nice positive greeting like that. So then the prospect says, yeah, you know, I want to get a new vinyl fence for my yard. What do you charge? It's going to be a common first step. So at this point, we're going to get their details. Okay. And we're going to do this for a couple of reasons. Whether or not you're starting out or if you've been in the fence business for decades, that personal information is money. It's future money. You can either put it into a lead nurture funnel, start sending them direct mail, start sending them emails. So you definitely want to get that. So we get it right off the bat. Sure, well, I'd love to help you out with that. Let me start off by getting some basic information, please. Can I get your name? Okay, it's Susie, super. And your address? Okay, blah, blah, blah. And your email, please. Super. Now, what's the best number to reach you at in case we get disconnected? All right, and now you have the information. So now we have these details right off the bat, which what I'm showing you, by the way, is after time goes on, a system like this you have down to a science, right? Because it's so repetitive from all the calls that you have, and your employees get so, you know, they understand the repetition in the system, and so it becomes easy. Starting out, you will want to have an outline of this or a script, like I'm showing you, written down in, you know, on you, whether or not, you know, if you're out in the field digging holes, have it in your pocket, whatever you got to do, that when that phone rings or if it goes to voicemail, you call back, but you got your script. And this way you have that consistent outline that for every call, it goes bam, 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 in this sequence, in this order. And it makes it really simple rather than winging it. And every call is a little different. You really can't build a predictable business if you're answering every sales call differently. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, you got their personal information. Let's talk about what they want. here's where we're not going to, we want to switch the mindset from salesman. We want to get rid of that and be more like an advisor, a consultant, or a doctor. Okay, think diagnosis at this point. Don't think sale. Don't think I'm looking for a yes. Think diagnosis. So, you know, are we able to help this person? What kind of fence are you interested in? Now, you mentioned vinyl. What color? And Susie says, you know, white, or, you know, maybe she'll say beige or something like this. White. Okay, and how tall do you want it? What height? And you know, she might not be familiar with the different heights, so you have to tell her that, you know, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, whatever. So now you got the height. How many gates? Right? Because she may not know that. She might be thinking a fence. She doesn't even, you know, she doesn't know. So you got to ask her, well, how many walk gates? Those are, you know, when you go up to the fence, there's going to be a little gate you can go through. How many of those would you like? She says 2. Okay. And as far as the measurements and things like that, maybe she has the measurements, maybe she doesn't, right? She might not have that property survey, or maybe she doesn't know. We're going to get to that in a moment. But right now we're collecting data. Can we help this person or not? So we're going to say at this point, we can help her. We can supply this kind of fence that she wants. Now we're going to find their hot button. Okay? So why do you want it? It's that simple. You know, Susie's calling up. She wants a white vinyl fence. She's telling you she wants it 6 feet tall, 2 gates. That's awesome. So why do you want it? This is critical information because it lets us know a little more how serious they are of a buyer. We can get some information. And if it turns out they're not serious at all, well, then the call's pretty much over. We don't need to waste any more of our valuable time. But she might say, you know, I'm closing on a house. So if they're getting a new home, that's a pretty serious lead. They want it to be nice for their new house. Or maybe their other fence is falling apart. It's an old wood fence and it's rotted. Or she says, you know, we're selling, or our neighbors are always staring at us and it's creepy, right? So we're gauging why it's important for them to have this fence, and we're going to keep a mental note of that, or we're going to write it down on our pad. That's why Susie's buying this, is because we'll say she's selling her house. Okay? Then we want to find out, like, so what is their role in the decision-making process? Is Susie the sole decision maker? Does she make that with her husband? How's that work? So we need to ask, are you the sole decision maker when it comes to the fence? And if Susie says, yep, I am, then we'll move on to the next step. But if Susie says, no, you know, actually, I would make this decision with my husband, then you say, okay, well, got it. So since the two of you make this decision as a team, when should we set up a call when you'll both be available at the same time? The reason I say you do this is because it's much more solid instead of you going back and forth. That if you go through this whole process and you sell Susie, what she can do is simply come back and say, yeah, well, I talked to my husband and he says, no, he really doesn't want you to come out. He's not interested right now. And you don't even know why. It's like completely out of your control at this point. You don't know the guy. You don't know what his objections were, so you can't even overcome them. So a better situation in this case, the ideal situation, is schedule a follow-up call later on that day when they're both available, and now go back through it. And it's you know, oh, well, hey, Jimmy, yeah, I was just talking with your wife, Susie, and she's telling me that, you know, you're looking for a vinyl fence, 6 foot, because you're selling your house. That's exciting. And then, you know, get into the call. But now you got them both there. And so it's going to be a very solid decision as you move forward. All right. So let's keep going. Now, we're going to assume Susie's the sole decision maker. We're moving forward. We want to see where she's at in this process, okay? Because this is valuable. Are we your first call, or have you already gotten another quote? Because if she's already gotten another quote or 2 quotes, then that's good to know, because now we know, oh, she's really serious. She's calling around. She's not a tire kicker if she's calling 2 or 3 companies for a quote. All right. So we're going to say that she says, you're my first call. It's not bad. That's great. First call. Awesome. How exciting. Now, if she says to you, I have gotten another quote, you can do something like this. Okay, super. So we can save time then. Would you mind sharing that with me so we can compare apples with apples? And have her read it off to you of exactly, you know, the materials and everything as it's written out. Maybe even shoot you a text, you know, people are pretty handy with cell phones now, right? So she could just shoot a quick picture of it, text it to you, and now you got apples and apples. This is good information to know in advance when you give your quote, because if you're going to be a lot higher, then, you know, you really need to sell the value. You're not expected to price match. You're not expected to do that. You sell based on value. Your price is your price. So we're gonna get this information in advance just to know where she's at in the buying process, how serious she is. Okay, so let's keep going. So we're gonna go with, she says, you're my first call. And then we're gonna get a little more information. So what kind of budget were you thinking you'd be comfortable investing in a fence? And a lot of times the knee-jerk reaction you're going to get for this is, I have no idea. That's why I'm calling you. Okay. And so people know that full fences, you know, a fence installation for a yard, it's not cheap. It's going to be an investment. But we want them to explicitly tell us that they know it's going to be investment. We're going to do this before we give them a high ticket price, to kind of mentally prepare themselves psychologically to, you know, release control or whatever, that they know that, yeah, you know, I'm expecting to spend quite a bit on this. So she's going to say, I don't know. You can say, okay, no problem. Well, if you had to guess. That question right there, well, if you had to guess, that's a very strong question, because if the person truly does have a notion of how much they're looking to invest in a fence, that follow-up question, likely it's going to be tough for them to dodge it. They won't be thinking that far ahead. And so it's really going to help. And so what kind of budget were you thinking you'd be comfortable investing in a fence? Prospect Susie says, I don't know. Okay, no problem. Well, if you had to guess. Well, why are you asking me that, right? She might say, well, why are you asking me that? I'm calling you for a price. Why are you asking me that? Well, look, the only reason I say that is because when it comes to vinyl fences, there's a lot of different styles and options and materials to choose from. And, you know, there's gates, and we can, you know, make a fence, you know, that's $20,000, $30,000 if there's no budget. You know, it all depends on what you want to do. So I'm just trying to gauge, you know, what you're thinking in terms of how much you'd like to invest in a fence. That's all. And then she might come clean at this point. She might come clean. And she might say, well, you know, I was figuring it would be about, you know, $5,000 or $6,000. I talked to my neighbor, and, you know, that's about what they spent. Okay, so now you know you're playing ball with someone real, that they know it's going to be an investment. Okay, so let's go on to the next step. And so we've gotten her to, at this point, we've given her no information whatsoever, but we've collected so much information at this point. And this phone call right now, we will say that we've been on the phone with them probably a good 6-7 minutes by this point. Okay. So now we know that she understands it's going to be an investment. She doesn't know our price yet, but she knows she's going to be spending a significant amount of money, and she seems okay with it because she's taken it upon herself to make the call. So now we're going to wrap it up in a bow and give it to her exactly how she wants it. Okay? We're going to do what's called like a psychological trial close. Okay? Assuming, and this is really where we're going to see how serious she is about the fence. And if you go through these steps, you will schedule more estimates if you take the calls in this way. Guaranteed. So assuming, Susie, we can meet all your conditions of satisfaction with regards to price, material, and installation, how soon would you be able to start? And she might say as soon as possible. Or she might say, well, you haven't even given me a price yet. I don't know. I don't know what when I could start. And so what do you do then? You just repeat it. The reason why you repeat it is because we're focusing on the positive, and the positive is, how do we get to yes? That's it. How do we get to yes? We're not going to worry about price. We're not going to worry about material, anything like that. What we're doing is we're the great facilitators of the fence industry. How do we get to yes? So we're going to wrap it up in a bow again. Susie, assuming we can meet all your conditions of satisfaction with regards to price, materials, and installation, how soon would you be able to start? And it's very hard for someone to get out of this question and dodge it and squirm away. So we're going to get a true answer here. And it's going to be, right away, as soon as possible, maybe within a week or two. We're going to get some information. Now, if they say something, and we could, again, if she follows up and she's playing a little hardball, and now you've done this twice, and she's saying, well, look, I'm just not sure. We can use our magic question. Well, if you had to guess. Always remember that one in your back pocket. If you had to guess. Well, I suppose in a week or so. All right, so now you got a good one. You got a live one. She knows it's an investment. She's prepared. She's ready to go within a week or so. So this is shaping up to be a really, really solid lead. This is going nice. And still, we have given her no information. She knows that we're going to wrap it up in a bow and do whatever we can to meet all her conditions of satisfaction with regards to price, materials, and installation. She just doesn't know what the heck it is yet. And that's fine, because we're in control. We are the ones asking the questions. So if she says something to you like, well, in the next 2 to 3 months, at this point, that's not so good, right? We're not in business to do business 2 to 3 months from now. We're in business to sell fences right now, today. We're in business to sell a fence today. Yeah, we can sell it tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here in 2 to 3 months. But what is preventing you from moving forward sooner rather than later? That's the question. So why in 2 or 3 months? Here, we really just need to probe and ask the question and get back the information. So why 2 to 3 months? And we just need to see what that answer is before moving forward to see if that is a true objection, a true issue, or if it's just some sort of a fear lingering in her head that really is nothing. Okay, let's keep going. So here's an optional strategy. Is you can use an online estimating tool with them, something like My Salesman, to get them a quote. And this is very useful because it creates structure. And for instance, this tool right here, it will send them the email quote and do some follow-ups and stuff. So it's pretty slick. Also, if you're going to be bringing in someone to answer the phone, or if you have employees, this tool kind of forces them to use a system so everyone is consistent that is handling the sales process. So, and a lot of times, you know, they don't know their measurements, right? So with something like this, you can get a good gauge of the square footage of their property and give them a budget that's going to be within reason. And then of course you want to go out, do your due diligence, take your final measurements, but you can qualify the call really well based on some real data from, you know, the Google Earth measurements that this thing uses. So super. Let me enter in your property details, which you already got from step 2. Remember, we collected their information. Okay, it's pulling up a satellite image of your property now. Oh, it looks nice from the aerial view. Is that you standing out front waving at me? Just a little joke, right? Get a little chuckle from it. It loosens the mood, right? So, haha, just kidding. So let's get into your style of fence and options. Okay, perfect. So you're going to be entering these in, right? Because you were a good investigator. You were writing these things down on your pad and you're getting them all in place. So you know that she wants vinyl, you know she wants 2 walk gates, you know that she wants it to be 6 feet high. You're getting all this stuff. You're entering it in, and now you can get to the price. Okay, super. So you're looking at a good faith estimate of $7,500. Now we just shut up. We just be silent. Okay? There's 2 schools of thought on this. One school of thought is that you email them the estimate and you do not give them the price right there. You email it. Okay? That's one way to do it. And, you know, I know of companies doing that are in the mid 7 figures, and, you know, that's working for them, and they can be more patient. Now, if you're a guy with 1 or 2 crews, you know, I'd be more inclined to try to work the call, to try to keep it going, right? So these are your 2 options: either email them the quote or continue to work the call. So let's keep going. We're going to work the call. After you give them the price, you're going to want to listen. Okay, so you gave them the price. So, you know, you're looking at a good faith estimate of $7,500. Mike says, I like giving it to them right away to gauge their reaction. Sold one like that yesterday. Awesome for you, Mike. Crushing it. Glad to hear that. So yeah, there is an advantage to that. If you're well equipped on the phone and you master these techniques and you're comfortable giving it to them and getting that feedback, that's definitely going to be quicker than sending them an email and following up later. All right, so you're looking to hear something after you give the price of sounds reasonable, let's do it, what are the next steps, okay, great, that's about what I figured, something like that, right? At that point, you could say, you know, super. So let's go ahead and schedule the final estimate and walk through. I have some time later on this afternoon, or my estimator has time later on this afternoon or tomorrow. Which works better for you? Give them 2 options. Give them 2 options. You want to ideally get this thing done within the next 24 hours. You don't want to wait. Okay, so that's if all goes well. Jylan says, I normally do both. I email them, then follow up with a phone call to be sure that they got the email and see if they have any questions about anything. Okay. Good, good. So let's say they tell you something like this. Here's what we're not going to accept. Okay, so you give them a price. We're not going to accept this. Okay, so I'll think about that and I'll call you back. Or, okay, I'll need to get back to you. Or, okay, got it. So how can I get back in touch with you? Or they just say, can you send me this in writing, and then you just do it? Or I have to talk to my husband, or I have to talk to my wife. We won't accept that, because the decision to buy a fence is binary. It's either a yes or a no. And you've been on the phone with them, so certainly they have an opinion in the matter. They have a personal opinion. And if you qualified this well, this last one shouldn't even pop up. I have to ask my husband, or I have to ask my wife. That one shouldn't even be there, right? Because you're scheduling a follow-up call with them both together to avoid that scenario. So if they say, think about it, how do I get back to you? Or, I need some time to think about it. A lot of people will say, okay, sure. You know where to find me. Yep, I'll be here. The friendly approach, keep it friendly. And really, you're doing yourself a disservice if you take that approach, because the truth of the matter is they won't think about it. That the moment they get off the call, within a half hour, they're going to remember probably 20% of what you said. By tomorrow, they're going to remember maybe 10% of what you said. And within a day or two, they're not even going to remember your name or your company's name. So another approach is to simply handle this on the call. May I ask what it is exactly you need to think about? Okay, give me some time to think about it. Give me some time. Give me a little time to think about this, to digest it, and I'll get back to you. How can I reach you? That's not acceptable. The follow-up to that is, okay, sure. So may I ask what it is exactly you need to think about? I just need some time to digest this. That's all. Got it. How come? Why? We're entitled to know, right? It's a very simple question. We're trying to get to the truth, because if we can't break down that wall, we have a little shot of selling the fence. We lose a lot of control at that point. So once we get the information, now we know where to go. We ask the question, and they may tell us something that's usually going to be something with money, right? It could be price. Maybe they can't afford it, which in this case, you could overcome something like that with, well, when you say you can't afford it, what can you afford? See what they can do, and work a payment plan, or offer them financing, something like that. Or they may say, we just don't know at this point. That's why we got to ask. We got to ask. So if they say, this all sounds really good, can you just send it over in writing? So it almost sounds like a close, right? This sounds really good. Can you just send this over to me in writing? Okay, sure. Then you send it over, and then what happens, right? You email it, and you're chasing them week after week after week. You're calling them, you're leaving messages, and you never hear from them again, right? How many times does that happen? So the answer is not to just give in and say, yep, you'll have it in your email in the next 20 minutes. Talk soon, okay? Here's how you handle something like this. My suggestion is to say, as a matter of course, we back up everything in black and white. How do you feel about our solution? Have them tell you all the reasons why they want to do business with you. Well, I like it. I like the fence. I looked you guys up online. You have great reviews, or I checked out your website. You guys look pretty legit, or I've seen your work on Facebook or Google, and I can tell you guys do quality work. Super. So what's your hesitation in moving forward then? See how we can stay in the call? We can keep moving it forward. Whereas if we just gave in and said, you bet, I'll have that to your email in the next 20 minutes. Would we have gotten that sale tomorrow or the next day or next week? Who knows? Anything could happen. She might get hit by a car, right? God forbid. What I'm saying is the only thing you can count on is right now, is this moment. So use it. Use your time wisely. And if she's telling you that I feel good about the solution, then the question just becomes, well, what's your hesitation in moving forward then? See what she says. Well, I just want a day before I, have you come out here and we finalize this. I just want a day to, really make sure this is something that I want, something that I want to move forward with. Here's where we use our hot button. Remember in the very beginning, we asked them, so why do you want the fence? And she told us, I want the fence because my creepy neighbors keep staring at me, right? Here's where we use that. She's already told us that, I like your solution. So, just give me a day to think about it. So here's where we can tie in the hot button, and this might get us the estimate to close the deal. Well, Susie, in the beginning of our call, you told me about those creepy neighbors that keep staring at you. In the next 24 hours, do you think they're still going to be staring at you? Or next week? Or next month? She's going to say, yeah. Well, the sooner you get up that fence, the sooner you stop those creepy neighbors from staring at you. Well, she says, you got a point. All right, awesome. So I can have my estimator out there later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Which works better for you? There you go. Okay, now let's keep moving forward. Price. Price is too high. It's all in perspective, right? Because you can tell someone a fence is $5 and they will still find a reason to tell you that the price is too high. So a good way to start off with something like this, price is too high, is just to come back with a very quick question. And you say, compared to what? It's very important that when someone says your price is too high, not to get defensive. Okay? Don't let frustration take over and things like that. Try to stay neutral. Imagine that you are a body of water, a pond, and it's just a tiny ripple. Don't make waves over something like this. Be very calm and say, compared to what? See what they say. Do they have any leg to stand on, or what? Maybe they had no idea what a fence costs, right? Are they playing dumb? So we really just kind of need to see where their head is at. Compared to what? Maybe they're saying compared to, the wood fence I used to have. I got the wood fence for $3,000 from a guy in his truck. And now you're telling me $7,500. All right. So if that's the case, then what do we need to do? We need to sell based on value of all the benefits that Susie is going to get from this vinyl fence that she did not get from that wooden fence, right? Things like, well, look, how soon did that wooden fence start looking crappy when your sprinkler started hitting it, right? Those wooden fences rot quick. So you can try something like this. With a fence, you truly get what you pay for. I can assure you, it's better to invest a little more than expected to get what you want, what you truly want, than to pay too little and get a saggy fence with headaches. A huge portion of our business comes from fixing other fence contractors' mistakes or shortcuts on materials and installations. So to be direct, our price is justified by using the highest quality material on the market and our installation process. This includes pouring more concrete for the posts, using better quality screws, along with a post saver so your posts don't rot, right? We're selling value. Whatever product you're using for your fence, your materials, sell the value. This way you get a fence that stands the test of time. Does that make sense? And that may be enough. Now she can justify in her own mind that, okay, so I can see why this fence is going to be double what my old fence was. They're using better quality screws. It's going to last a lot longer. They're building it to be more durable. It's a better quality material. I get it. And that may be enough. She says, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Then proceed right to the close, which in this case is going to be scheduling the estimate. Super. So I can have an estimator out to you later this afternoon or tomorrow morning. What works better for you? Don't come off of it. Just keep moving forward. Let's keep going. Let's do a price is too high again. Okay, so Susie agrees with you, but now she says, look, I get it. It's a better quality fence. I know you guys are going to do a great job. I don't doubt that. It's just more than I want to spend for a fence. So you could try a price is too high. Another one. Well, I'd be inclined to agree with you, Susie. Our price, it is high, but good things aren't cheap and cheap things aren't good. So our company had to make a choice. We could either design and build a fence that we could sell as cheaply as possible, or we could design and build it to last for the long run, and your costs would be substantially less. So it's more than a cliche. You should invest in the best in the beginning, or you'll pay for the get-by fence in the end. Would you agree? And she has to agree because it makes sense. It makes sense. So at that point, again, when you get an affirmation from her, she says, yeah, I get it. Super. So then we can have an estimator out later in this afternoon around 5 p.m. or tomorrow in the morning at 9:30. What works better for you? Right? We don't come off of it. It may sound a little robotic to you, but this is systematic. And you can see if you follow these steps, will you schedule more estimates? Will you close more high-ticket fences? Will the probability of you closing more high-ticket fences go up? You bet, because you're working the calls. You're working the calls at this point. You're handling it the right way. You're leaving nothing to chance because you're asking all the right questions. Now, real quick, we're just going to cover some sales killers, which this may seem like common sense, but I hear these a lot on calls, and so I'm just going to throw them out there. Bad mouthing the competition, huge no-no. It doesn't make you look good or anyone good to bad mouth their competitor. That's, grade school stuff. Instead of that, try something else. Like, so-and-so, your competitor, they offered it to me for, $1,000 less, $1,500 yet less. So how can I justify giving you $1,500 more for the same fence? All right. So if it's something like that, you need to know your product and your competitor's product, and you need to say with confidence that, I can totally understand where you're coming from, but let me explain, and you'll see that our price is justified. First off, we're providing you with an anti-rot package with a post saver sleeve on these. And so our posts are going to last 10 to 15 years, where he's not doing that, and they're going to rot out. They can rot out within a year or two. That's going to be a huge expense to you. Another thing that we're doing, so see what I'm saying? You need to know your competition, how they're installing these fences, know why you can offer a better service. And then instead of bad mouthing the competitor, just say, yeah, I get that, but you know what? I can offer you a much better service and a better fence. Here's why. And lay it out. And your confidence in how you handle that will make or break a sale. So think about that. Another one, showing frustration when it comes to price. You know, they tell you it's too much and you take it personal and you're like, you know, how dare Susie say that about my prices? Man, what does she know that, right? So you don't want to be doing that. You need to keep a level head. You need to sell based on value, and that is it. That's it. You're not in the price match business. You are in the selling value business. Because when you sell value, what do? You're earning higher ticket prices and you're getting more profits. You're not racing to the bottom. So, and I think, Mike, you're on the webinar. I think I got that from you. It's not a race to the bottom. I think I got that one from you. So he chimed in. Let me see what he said. Yeah. All right. So telling a prospect that you can't do something, that's another no. Like I said, just focus on getting to the yes. So like, for instance, if what they want can't be done for the budget that they want, then rather than say, I can't do that, focus on an alternative. Say, you know, I understand you want this, but may I suggest another option that's going to be just as good and I believe you're going to be even more happy with? Try it that way. So Mike says, people act like you win the job by being the lowest. All right. Isn't that the truth? Instead, you know, put the focus on the positive with how do we get to yes? That's it. So I think where we're at, you know, takeaways, I would love to get some feedback from any of you. You know, what did you learn? What did you notice? What would you like to share about any of this? I'd love to get some feedback from you. Anyone take away anything? Anyone learn anything? Mike says yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, so what we've covered here is how to handle inbound calls for high ticket residential fence and gate sales. As you can see, these techniques will also work for commercial jobs. But when you get into selling like the big commercial jobs, right, those are usually not done in this manner. But for residential, this works really great. Overcoming common objections. We overcame some common objections for price and think about it, things like that. Mike says, I'm going to take out a sheet and try to stay on the same script each time. Awesome. Very good. We talked about maximizing your leads, taking what you got, getting more out of it. So these calls that are coming in, squeezing the most out of them. And how are we doing that? By staying in the game. We're going to keep asking them questions. And we're going to gather our information and ask these questions in the beginning, so we stay in control of the conversation the whole way through. And then sales killers, we talked about what not to say and, you know, some things that are going to detract your prospect, make them not want to buy from you. So that pretty much does it. I will, if you guys have any questions at all about anything here, go ahead and chime in. We can have a little Q&A session. Going once, going twice. Keith says, so we honestly believe we sell better in person, but that does tie up time. We believe in a lot of your techniques, but we can be profitable getting to a face-to-face right up front. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Keith. And that's true. That I would agree with you that face to face is strong, but you got to drive to get there, right? And that takes time. So, you know, with qualifying these over the phone in this way, I'm not saying it's the only way, but for sure you can see that you can tighten these up really tight, these estimates, just by asking the right questions without having to drive out there. So it's really an issue with time, that if you can do it over the phone in under 10 minutes, why drive out there? I mean, you're still going to drive out there anyway, because you got to do your due diligence and make sure the final measurements are right. And let's see, Jylan says, what's the average number of sales you should be selling? Like 5 out of 10, or do you have an average number? I think what you're asking, if I understand you right, is out of how many calls? So like out of 10 calls, how many estimates should you be setting up? And if that's what you're asking, I would say that out of 10 calls, if you're qualifying this way, because keep in mind, anyone that calls your business or fills out a contact form, if they're taking time to do that, there is a genuine interest there. That's real. And we can, you know, try to brush it off that, yeah, these are all tire kickers. Most of them are tire kickers, but a lot of times, you know, we're not being totally honest with ourselves that these calls need to be worked better, that they need a reason, a sense of urgency of why they're going to buy now and why they should buy from us. Okay. And so, I mean, if they're on the fence, you could do something like, you know, why should they buy from you right now? Why would they do that? Well, I tell you what, if we can wrap this up today, because we're going to be installing a 150-foot of fence here, I'm willing to throw in a walk gate absolutely free of charge, and that's a $300 value. So can we go ahead and schedule this for later this afternoon, or does tomorrow morning work better for you? Right? We just need to give them a reason. Let's see what else we got here. Sometimes people ask, don't you come look at it? And I have oppositions. So yeah, if they say, don't you come look at it, I would just say, yeah, we're getting to that point. Right now, I just want to make sure that this is going to be a match. You know what I mean? Stay in control. Keep asking your questions. Don't say no. Don't say anything like that. Just say, yeah, we're getting there, and keep going through with your questions. So if you're only on like question number 5 or 6 in like this scenario, how I've outlined it, and Susie is like, hey, aren't you going to just come out here and say, yeah, we're getting to that point. I just want to make sure that we're going to be a match for what you need. That way we don't waste each other's time. Does that make sense? And Susie will say, you know, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Keith says, I agree. We're going to work on it on the front end and get a happy medium. Awesome. Cool. Mike says 24%. Very nice. I go out on every single call. Jylan goes out on every single call. Okay. That's one way to do it. Maybe though, on some of those, you've got a couple tips from this. And so rather than driving out on every single one, you can maybe fine tune those over the call and see if they're really worth your time. And then Mike says, well, once you get more calls, you won't be able to go to every one. Yeah, that's true. That's when you need to get better at qualifying on the phone. I have worked around it. Tell them, you know, we don't waste time. Don't waste our time or their time or our time. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, very cool. This was a good webinar, and I thank all of you for joining. Hope you got something out of it. If you need some help, if you do want some help, You know where to find me, or you can just type "Let's Talk" in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. You're welcome, Jylen. Jylen says, thanks for your time and knowledge, man. My pleasure. Hope you got something out of it. And if you need to reach me, you can go to fencemarketingteam.com/schedule. Let's see, Mike asks, is this recorded so I can watch it later on? You bet. Yeah, I'll post a replay in the Facebook group, and I'll get it on TV. Jylen says, okay, cool. Jylen's from Jacksonville, Florida with Anchor Fence and Deck LLC. Check us out. Will do, Jylen. Absolutely. Keep rocking. Keep crushing it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.